I'm Alex Howard.
And I'm Amanda Silver, and this is Dirty Laundry.
Hi, Christie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you.
So a little background. Christie used to be my client, and we did some work together trying to help you get out of a pretty gnarly, toxic relationship. So if you're open and willing, we'd love for you to share any and anything and all that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, well, I'll start with how I met Alex, and then maybe I'll go backwards. So I had just moved out of my ex's place. I'm in my parents' basement, which is its own background. And I called my massage therapist, who I had met during COVID. So he was doing house calls. And so he had been coming to, where I was living before to do the massages. And so he comes into my parents' basement and, we start and he's like, so how are things? I'm like, well,
he gets feel the stress right away.
Exactly, which is why he was there. So I go into it, right? And I'm a pretty open book. So I'm telling him what happened and he's a sweet guy, And so he goes, you have to talk to my friend Alex. So he gives me her number. He's like, she'll book, she'll do 15 minutes with you. I'm like, awesome. Okay, great. And because I didn't really know at the time of leaving, like I was so confused. I don't know what the cycle of abuse looks like. Like, I don't know what just happened. I'm not sure if maybe I'm the perpetrator. Like, did I do this? So chatting with you in just that 15 minutes. And I remember too, our call, like we went past the 15. So the call dropped and I was like, oh man. And then you called me back and I was like, what? So we got to finish the rest of that thought. But you really helped me feel like I wasn't crazy. It was like, I don't know what's going on here, but the way you're feeling is not okay. Like if you don't feel safe, this is not a situation, it's not about fixing it or should you fix it. So how it started, I was 25. My whole life, I've always been, so excited to be a wife. I'm going to be the perfect wife and I'm excited for marriage and like, I'm going to do it better,
Yeah.
And so I meet this guy and I'm when I say I'm excited for marriage, like I was a virgin, like I was waiting for marriage.
Oh, wow.
And so I meet this guy and he's perfect. He's exactly what was, everything on my list. And he's fiery and passionate. And then 3 months in, he throws me this epic birthday party. Like he has not met my family yet. Like I think he ran into my sister once by chance, but so he works with her. He invites my best friends, a bunch of other friends, my family. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the one. Like, this is the guy. And so a few weeks later, I'm like, all right, well, you're the one. So there was that. And then, it just, from even a month and a half in, there were these, tensions where, and then he's not talking to me for 3 days and I'm confused. And I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And so, but I'm like, we work it out. It's fine. I'm learning and growing. And also there's a 14-year age difference. So then at the 6-month mark, something happens and he's very upset. So I'm trying to talk to him and he shoves me. And I was so stunned. And it was like, oh, that's not okay. And so I pack all my stuff, whatever I had brought over in the 6 months, right? I still had my own apartment at this time. And I go to my parents' house and I'm talking to my parents about it. I'm like, because again, I'm like, is it me? Like, should I have not? Right. And my dad said to me at 6 months in, he goes, Christie, this doesn't get any better. It only gets worse. Yeah. And I'm someone who needs to experiment things on my own and find out for real. So we end up working it out, right? I'm like, okay, not going to do what I did anymore. And then it just, 6 months later, we get each other rings, like promise rings. And then we go on vacation and there's this big blow up and all of the toxic stuff, right? It's everything. There's the beautiful love bombing and fairy tale stuff. And, we're buying Lamborghinis and then it's like, and there's abuse, there's assault, right? And there's name calling. So that's kind of like the vibe. And from social media, it looked fine. Like a lot of people were kind of surprised at things I started to say afterwards. So,
you know what? No, that's a perfect place to pause because I think that is also part and parcel to these relationships it's a combination of them isolating you from your friends and family and then simultaneously, gaslighting or just confusing you as you've already described, where you're like, oh, was it me? Did I do something wrong? Should I not have said that? And so then you're covering up for them. You are making excuses for them. So you are also isolating at the exact same time. And so it's just like working in tandem to just completely, constantly keep you off kilter. Where
your whole sense of reality is completely off. And if they have money and they're throwing money at you and these lavish trips and cars and gifts and what have you, you're probably like, well, I like this.
Yeah.
Right? This is charming. It's part of the love bombing.
And
it's
maybe your friends and family are reinforcing that,
wow,
right?
He's a great guy. Look at all these nice things that you have and he's giving you and you're experiencing. So you think
lucky.
Maybe the good is so good that I can deal with when the bad is so bad.
That's definitely how it was for me, that the good is so good. It was more on an emotional level because anything that was done with, for a big show was always just on the outside. Like I was running his businesses. So we'd go out to drinks or whatever, and he's tipping the servers $300, $400. He never gave me money. Like I was running his business and I would get paid for that.
Yeah.
But I actually paid him to use his vehicle. Like I was driving at one point, there was tension about that I had my own lease. My car, I had an Acura. I love that thing. And he basically, he asked me to get out of my lease and come drive his car. And he bought this shiny matte black Escalade. So of course I'm like, all right, that's kind of nice, right? And then he's like, okay, but I still want you to pay $350 a month, which is like what you would have been paying for your Acura anyway, like for wear and tear. And I was like, all right, that's fair. Like I'm now at this point living with him, and like he had wanted me to pay rent at first. He has a mortgage. And I was like, well, no, like I'm not paying your mortgage. Like I don't have to live here. I have my own apartment, which so we came to terms. And so I was like, okay, I'm not paying rent, but I will give you some money for the car. And so the way it looked to the outside was like, oh, he put her in this vehicle and then he goes and buys a Lambo and they have this house. I'm like, guys, my name wasn't on any of that. Yeah. This was not like I left with nothing, with less than I started, actually. So, and it wasn't, I enjoyed the time. There were perks. It's like, did I enjoy those things? Yes. But it wasn't what people thought it was. I was happy with him. Like of course, it's the happy and then it's the disasters. I'm, on a wave.
I call it the prisoner in paradise. Because you look on the outside like you're living this dream. And I've seen this so often, especially with social media, where you think these people are living this beautiful life and they have these beautiful handbags and all the designer stuff, but they're living with someone who controls every single part of it, who makes them pay the $300 a month for the car, or who won't give you any money for the basic necessities.
Yeah.
It's like
even though they've got so much.
Even they have so much and they're willing to throw it around to show the world that they are such a success, but they are so controlling of their partner. Yeah. And that is a very dangerous place to be in.
So dangerous. And you were in a particular kind of pickle because you were living and working. So like I remember when we spoke and I was like, you got to get out of this house. Like you gotta get to safety. And you're like, yes, but then I have to show up to work.
And so that means leaving your house. And for many people who are with with someone in a position of power over them, it might mean leaving your house and leaving your job.
Exactly. And normally, and we saw this in COVID, right? People that work was their safe place from the domestic abuse that they were experiencing at home. And then all of a sudden, we're working from home and you are literally trapped with your abuser. Yeah. And yours was very reminiscent of that to me. I was like, there's no escaping for you. What do you do? Can you share a little bit about that experience and getting out of it all?
Yeah. And funny, actually, COVID was pretty easy for us. Like, I really just fawned through that whole thing. Like, it was like, I just knew how to survive. It was tactics I learned in my childhood, So I knew that as long as I just didn't do anything he didn't like or piss him off, it was going to be fine. And generally it was pretty smooth, right? And until it was just those times and then it wasn't.
So you get through COVID, sort of quote unquote unscathed, and then?
Okay, so I was at a point at 4 years and 10 months where I'm drinking 4 bottles of champagne a day. It's my buffer. I'm, and he's, whether it's not coming home at night, starting a fight with me and then not coming home, telling me he's sleeping in his truck. And I'm like, I can't do anything about that. And so I got to a point where I would just have another glass and go to bed. It's like, I don't care anymore. I'm so numb. I'm just like, okay, like, I'm just glad you're not mad at me. Well, he's mad at me, but he's not screaming at me. So it's good. So that's the point I'm at. And I remember too, at one point praying and being like, God, I really love this guy, but I don't have the strength to get out of this if this isn't what you want for me. So if this isn't where you want me, I need you to get me out. I need you to make it, I remember saying, so painful that I have no choice but to leave. And so one night things came to a head. We're arguing, and he, I don't know, he later said that he started like a cycle, like test or something, but I'm like, and he didn't want to tell me because he thought I'd be mad. I'm like, first of all, I wouldn't, like, what? That was not our dynamic. I'm like, anyway, that's the thing I'd be mad about? Okay. So he picks me up, throws me on the floor, kicks me, picks me up. He does that 3 times. And I'm frozen. I never, even through the whole relationship, I never fought back. There was one time I threw a glass of champagne at him, like just whoosh, because he, and then I ran into the bedroom. I'm like, so, but that was it. I never fought back. I never put hands. Like, I'm more the type to freeze and just like survive the moment, right? So there I am, fetal position on the ground, and I'm just breathing. And I'm like, if anything, I might have been like, F off.
Right.
And he's losing it. His kids are downstairs, like he's pacing. I'm sure he's filming the whole thing, but I'm like, what are you filming? Like I'm on the ground. And so he calls his sister to come over. She comes over, picks me up. I'm not even wearing contacts. Like I'm in a bathrobe. I was ready for bed. So she's like, what do you need? I'm going to get you out of here. So and I can't think. Like I didn't even think to get my contacts. I'm like, my glass is like, I don't know. She takes me in a bathrobe to where I work for him. So I stayed the night there. Of course, didn't sleep. And the next morning, got a friend to come pick me up and went to pack all my stuff. Made sure I talked to the sister, made sure he was gone for the day. And at the time, I'm sure he didn't think, I had moved out like 3 times, maybe like within the first 2 years. And then I just found how to deal with it. And when he would scream, like, get out of my house, I'm like, okay, that means you want me to sleep in the basement tonight. Fine. So packed my stuff for the last time. And I knew, I was like that. It was the shelf breaking moment. It was finally, to me, on a body level, like, this is not right. If I know I didn't deserve that. I'm not fighting back. That was not a snap. That went on for 10 minutes. So
sorry.
Yeah. So that was, and then I called you. That was really how that ended. Yeah.
Wow.
And you got out.
You got out.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But it was hard afterward because there was, we were still talking, even though I was moved out. He's hoovering, he's coming back, what we have is unlike anyone else. And I'm like, I'm so confused. I'm like, this is unsustainable. This can't happen. Like it did get worse, and how much worse is it going to be now? So, and I, also remembered saying, I need this to become painful if I'm actually going to see that I need to leave. So I had my call with you. This is always going to be a part of the story, but it's odd because I was not really one for astrology or anything very woo-woo, but I had a reading with this lady named Rosie Cutter and her destiny card system, which I now do readings of. And she said this all needed to end because this whole year is about creating and realizing the kind of love you want to have for yourself and therefore your next level for the rest of your life. And she said, she actually said too, she's like, I think he was cheating on you. And I'm like, well, no, like I never caught him. Actually, a year after that, I had 2 separate people confirm the same story. And I was like, how did she know? It was in the cards. But she also said that on December 28th, so this is all happening in the spring of 2023. She said, December 28th, you're going to have stable love come into your life. And that's the day I met my now husband.
No. Okay, so I need her number.
I know.
Wow. She knew the date? She knew the date.
The date, yeah.
The date.
That's wild.
Like chills. That's incredible. So wait, on December 28th, what happened? You're just like, okay, you woke up and you're like, today's the day. Like, it's like Christmas.
Rosie said it.
It's like, it's happening. It's like, did you run downstairs? I'm like, is he here? Is he here? Is he wrapped in a bowl?
Santa,
like,
did you deliver
did you deliver
me
him? Did he come down the chimney? Like how did that happen?
So I'll move back a little bit. So the weirder thing was, so this reading was on April 18th. The assault happened April 12th. And I didn't catch this at the time during the reading, but she said April 12th started your Saturn period, which is when the pimple needs to pop. Whatever it is that's out of balance in your life would have come to a head. And it wasn't until I re-listened like months later that I was like, oh my gosh, like that's how bad it was, that karma was just like, bloop, you're done.
Karma and your manifestation, like of you sitting there and going, I need this to be so bad to go. I just think like you asked for rock bottom. And then the universe delivered it and it gave you the strength or permission or whatever to just get the fuck out. Like to me, that paired with Rosie, it's just like, girl, you are so powerful. We are all so powerful. And so is the universe. I'm here for the woo-woo. But
you love the woo-woo.
I love it all.
Well, it doesn't matter where it comes from, whether you think it's divine intervention, or you think it's the stars, or it's some other universal whatever.
Yeah.
It happened.
And ultimately, the kudos is to you because you left. You did the hard thing. You did all of the steps to get yourself safe and whole. And like whatever was in the cards or the stars or Saturn, you fucking did it.
And you listened to the signs. Like you didn't just wait.
Well, and it's so interesting. We often talk about the red flags and how did you not notice? And why didn't you, it took you 3 times, 4 times to leave.
Which
like,
usually
why do people always stay? Why do they go back? It's such bullshit. It's like, no, because it's really fucking hard.
Really hard.
And it's really scary. And, you sort of alluded to, and you can share more about this if you want to, but the chaos or whatever the childhood environment that we're raised, that is our normal. That's our comfortable. And so if that's emulated in a relationship, you're like, well,
that's just the way life is.
That's the way life goes. And I actually feel really good in this space, even though it's negative and toxic and awful. This feels normal to me. But you went against the grain and you got out.
Yeah, I was comfortable walking on eggshells. And actually, it was easier when someone's screaming at me than when they're icing me out because I actually know why they're upset. So I was like, this is even easier to work with.
Did you get to the point where you realized that it didn't matter what you did? That it doesn't matter what you said to him or how you behaved or how good of a girlfriend or wife or partner that you were. This was a him problem. He was always going to find something to be angry at you about.
I never actually got to that point. I always saw it as maybe I caused this, I can't remove that as a variable because it's me there. Like everywhere I go, there I am. So I'm like, well, I'm here. So this must have something to do with me. But what I did realize was it doesn't matter what I did. I didn't deserve that. And that was where I was like, okay, then, and so then a lot of my work after talking to Alex, after the reading, it was like I got into therapy. And for me, I think I only did like 6 or 8 sessions because I'm like, if I can just understand what happened, then I can move forward and make sure I'm not repeating it. So when this angel of a woman named Lorna, and I recommend her to anyone in Ontario she's out of Saskatchewan, so I think Canada in general, but she was able to listen to me, and I was worried going into therapy. It's like, I'm going to have to do this 80,000 slideshow deck, like to tell you about all the variables, and then I'm gonna have to pay for all this time. But no, like even within the intake session, I'm saying things and she's like, oh yeah, that's, the cycle of abuse. This is how this works. This is trauma bonding. And I'm like, what? Like I've heard of these things, but I'm actually seeing for the first time, this is a pattern. And for the first time I saw this is not me and him. This is a cycle in which we're both caught. And with that, it wasn't like, well, maybe we can work this out. It was like, this was a perfect storm, but I am walking away.
And so then you walked away and found a new beau.
And what?
After that, okay, so 2 months after I left, things came to a head at the job. So I left. He took the car. I canceled the insurance that was in my name. And I laid low. I played softball with my family, just no contact. And then I didn't believe this at first, but my sister said she saw him at our baseball game. And before I showed up, and I'm like, well, he doesn't even know I play baseball and he doesn't know what area of town like that. I don't believe that. I'm sure it was just another dude that looks like him. but just to, I was like, this is weird. This is kind of creepy. Like there would be no way he would know, like unless there was a tracker on the car, which apparently is common. So I text his sister and I'm like, hey, I don't know if this is true, but if he was around my family, like that's not cool. That's actually super dangerous and he needs to not do that. And what I expected was a text back saying, oh, it wasn't him. I don't know what you're talking about. But instead, I get this text. He had his own reasons to be in that area. Not everything's about you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that made things real and scary. And what I've learned since is that stalking and strangulation, which is not something I dealt with, just the stalking, but those are the two most dangerous behaviors because with stalking, it has to become like a full-time job for you to have this information and following. And he was in a different vehicle with another chick, like just, it was so organized. And so after that, I went to the police. I was like, okay, I tried to just live my own life and lay low. And he's clearly now being aggressive. So, and I know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
So I go to the police and they're like, well, it's been 2 months. Why are you now coming? Like, and they didn't say that in a very judgmental way, but they're like, we're going to need to account for why you didn't report until now. And I was lucky to have an amazing officer in Hamilton there, but and so I explained, but at the time I'm also worried because I'm testifying and it's like, it was 2 months ago. If I get one detail wrong and in my trauma brain, my memory is shot. So it's like, if I get one detail wrong, they're going to throw the whole thing out and I'm not going to be a credible witness. And I know as soon as he finds out and gets arrested, especially if his kids are watching, like he's going to just be out for blood. Yeah. So it was scary. And shortly after that, I went on a retreat to Costa Rica. It was a very woo-woo retreat, human design. And I felt so much safer. Like I could breathe. My body came back to life. I was rejuvenated. I wasn't lethargic on my parents' couch. And so I canceled my flight home. I was like, I had nothing I would have had to rebuild, like buy a new vehicle or whatever, get a new job, right? Yeah. Get a new apartment. Like I had literally nothing to go back to besides my connections, my family and friends. So I just thought instead of this $800 ticket home, I'm just going to see how far I can live on that here, maybe do some readings. And I ended up staying for 6 months. I matched with my now husband December 21st, I think. So I was dating. And he flew in the 27th late at night, and then we met on the 28th. And again, it wasn't until after I'm like, oh my gosh, on the very day.
So wild.
That is incredible.
What a story.
And you met him in Costa Rica. Are you still in Costa Rica?
No, I'm now in Southern California. Okay. So we spent like this amazing 3-day bender together. And then he went further up north in Costa Rica, and I was supposed to go. But after what I've been through, I'm like, well, I already know I'm emotionally involved here. And, I was just like, if you're serious about this, instead of flying back from northern Costa Rica, extend your trip and just come back here and see me and we'll talk. So he did.
Wow, amazing.
And so I prepared this 2-hour deposition. I was like, what do you think about this? What makes you mad? How are you going to react if I do this? And all, what are your goals for fatherhood and all this? And so 2 hours. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm good. And he had, I was like, any questions for me? And he's like, I don't know. And we talked a little bit. And then he booked me a flight 2 weeks later. So here I am, Southern California.
I love the progression from like, I'm all in with this guy. I want to be a wife. I'm going to be, this very diligent woman to my man. And it's going to be so beautiful, to everything that you went through, to then almost like an awakening where you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. So I'm going to figure my shit out. And then I'm going to align my priorities, make sure I know what I want and how I want to show up and how I want to feel. And I'm going to interview you and make sure you tick all those boxes, the real boxes that matter, not the height and the bank account and the family or the, special golf club membership. Like, it wasn't about that. It was like, you have been to hell and back and you're not going there ever again.
No. And I also in that deposition had like, if this happens, I'm out. You might get one conversation to remind you, but that's it. And one of those things for me is name calling, because that wasn't something I'm used to. That was something that came up a lot in my past relationship. And I I saw what it led to, and it's fundamentally disrespect, right? So that was one thing I said to him in this deposition. I was like, if there's name calling, again, you might get one reminder, like strike one, but then it's done.
Yeah.
So, and that's just something that we haven't had to deal with. But it was kind of scary to bring that up at first. Like, I'm obviously really in love with this guy. Not in love. It's been a couple days, but like, I know that I'm like, I could definitely see this, right? And he's fun and funny, and he makes me laugh till my stomach hurts, and he's super handsome, right? And I haven't even mentioned he's a rocket scientist. So
a literal
does he have a
rocket
Does he have a twin brother?
Yeah, exactly. You have now taken this incredibly difficult and horrific experience, and you are using that to support and help others that are going through a similar shared horrible journey. What projects are you working on?
So I started a limited series podcast called Dating After DV. And it's actually started as a community project for this course. It's like a leadership course I was taking with Landmark Worldwide. And so I was like, well, I'm going to find experts and people to tell their story. And I'm just going to host the thing because, I mean, I don't feel like I have much to say for an hour by myself. So I have experts, women, I have some men on there, which was like pulling teeth, right? To try to find guys to talk about it.
Yep.
And law enforcement, psychologists, counselors, actually my counselor too. She did an episode with me. So it's been really cool to talk about different aspects of these kinds of relationships, but in a context of let's turn this into something really nice. Like it's about the dating after the DV, right? How can we not repeat the cycle, and how can we raise our level of self-worth and our self-awareness so that we can create what we wanted in the first place?
Yeah.
So what advice do you give, people who have been through a domestic violence situation and they are dating again? How do they go about that in a way that, they can protect themselves too?
I think therapy is important just to see what's turning the wheels on the inside, right? It's like if you're attracted to the chaotic, the push-pull energy, it's like maybe look at where that came from. Is it with your parents? Like, how did you learn to interpret love this way? And also not settling for, mistreatment. But also like have your list, be very clear about exactly the kind of person that you want to meet, and become the counterpart, like your true self, like become so authentically you, living into the best parts of yourself instead of trying to hide what you don't like. Find out how you can express that in the highest sense, and also be very firm on what you're not going to accept. I don't know if that for everyone will look like a deposition like it was for me, but it can be, hey, okay, here's something I say. 2 of the things that I look at now, that's not in more of an interview style. It's like I'm watching for this behavior on a date. And 2 things that happened as very early on with my ex that I didn't think anything of. I didn't like it, but I was like, okay, is number 1, how you talk to the little teenager in drive-through. And number 2, littering. And because that would happen, right? And again, it's like, okay, is it a big deal? Like, not really. Like, a lot of people litter, but it just made me feel icky, right? We're in the car and he'll be like, look over there. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, I know what you did. And I know, but see, I heard something recently.
That's like kicking a dog.
Totally.
To me, it's just so bad.
It's just so
that would
lazy and selfish.
I'd be out. Yeah. Forget. Go on.
And I felt it too. But what I heard recently is the way someone treats Mother Earth is the way that they treat women. And I was like, there it is.
Oh my God.
Interesting. I like that.
That is really profound.
That is really good.
Whoa.
Yeah. For me, it was always, how do you treat the server on our date? Because I was forever a server bartender in hospitality and got treated like absolute garbage by so many people. And I'm like, that's a no-go zone for me. This is just another human trying to, feed you. Why you got to be a dick? But yeah, Mother Earth. Oh, I like it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Very powerful.
Any other red flags for dating?
There's something about like if they like ghosting. Like, I have zero tolerance. It's like if a guy doesn't text back within a reasonable amount of time. And this happened with my husband, actually. I broke up with him. So I'm in Costa Rica, right? He's gone north for some expeditions with the boys. And I hadn't heard from him in the morning. It's at this point, I don't know. I think it was like 10:30, whatever. And so I'm not hearing back. So I'm thinking like they met some other chicks and they're having a good time. But it's getting to a point where for me, I'm like, all right, I don't think this guy's serious. And my heart's already, in hopeful mode. So I send him a text. I'm like, hey, it's been really fun. I really appreciate everything. Thank you so much for a great time. I think it's best if we would leave it here. Thank you again. It's been great. And he doesn't text back. He reads it, doesn't message back right away. And I'm like, I freaking knew it. Like, this guy's a player, right? And he messages back later. He's like, I am on a boat right now with zero reception, but can I please call you when I'm home? Like, and apparently his friend said too, like he was miserable on the boat because he's like, I can't send this message. And like, she thinks, that I'm not serious and whatnot. So, and that's really what kind of funneled us, because when we had that conversation and I'm like, oh, like, I just thought maybe, that you aren't as into this as I am. And he's like, I promise you that's not the case. I'm going to come back there. And that's when I said, like, okay, if you're serious, come back. Because by now I've learned words mean nothing without action. Yeah. So he did. I thought he canceled his flight, but he actually just had to miss it because it was non-refundable. So I didn't find that out until later.
And that's where communication comes in, because you make up all of these stories, especially if you've been through trauma. You're like, oh, he's with another girl and they're having the best time and he's forgotten about me. And when in reality, it was the opposite. So you communicated, you were upfront with it, and you were able to get over it. Whereas other people might just walk away and never find out the truth.
Healthy communication, healthy boundaries, but also some flexibility and some grace for the other person, right? Like the most generous interpretation. I always love this one where it's
Dr. Becky.
Let me not make these assumptions. Let me just get the facts, because we do fill in the gaps.
But you also can't help it. If you've been through rejection and abandonment and trauma and violence and all that stuff, you're going to go there. So how do you sort of keep that in check too, right?
And do you find you are still kind of falling back into old habits or old patterns, whether it's fear or insecurity or, you mentioned self-worth. That's obviously such a big, component to all of this. Do you see it and then catch it and then, sort of make changes?
Yeah. So I think one silver lining out of my past relationship is I learned a lot about emotional regulation, for survival. So
of course,
with this relationship, of course, I still have, moments of insecurity or being so angry that I'm like, maybe I read this whole thing wrong, but he makes it so easy because I know how to respectfully say, like, babe, here's how I'm feeling because of this. And I don't know what to do with this, or I'm scared that you think this or whatever. And he's just so receptive, and he acknowledges, like, and I didn't teach him any of this, right? He's just like, I can understand why you feel that way, but I promise that's not what is going on. And here's this. And like, it's so easy. I said the other day, I'm like, we fight so healthily. This is amazing. So even if I do fall into that stuff, which is human, I really think that's the number one thing that makes it work, right? Can we have this healthy, respectful communication and not just put stuff under the rug, but deal with it as partners, it's us against the problem, as they say.
It's such a mature way to handle things, to be able to say, oh, okay. And then to hear the other person and go, oh.
And to know your partner's vulnerabilities and to be safe in being able to share it, but also not like exploit it either. So he knows now that that's going to be an issue for you. And maybe it has nothing to do with him, right? Maybe it's from your past or what have you, but to know that and to be able to work with it and be like, no, like, it's okay. I'm here. I've got it. It's not happening here. Really.
It's so
really,
great.
really great.
So people can find your podcast on all of the regular streaming services. What's it called? Give us all the deets.
Yes, it's called Dating After DV, and it's on Spotify and YouTube at this point.
Okay.
I have it on my personal Instagram, which is a nod to my tropical time. It's called Bikini Boss at Bikini Boss. And then I have a page for like my readings and everything where you can get more information about destiny cards and human design and whatnot. So that is at Your Cosmic Concierge.
Thank you, Christie. We're going to put all of your contact info in our show notes so that our listeners can get in touch with you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on. It was so nice to see you and doing so well. I'm really proud. You're awesome. So
I think it was in the
thank
cards
you.
that the two of you
It was
met.
in the cards.
It was totally in the cards.
Thanks to Joe, our massage
Yeah.
therapist.
Here you go.
Shout out.
This episode was written and created by Alex Howard and Amanda Silver. Produced, edited, and engineered by RTF Productions. Make sure to rate and review our show if you loved it, and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast to stay up to date on all upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and go easy on us. We're not your ex.